the number one reason you're not doubling your quality case volume is because you're not going into a massive reinvestment mode. So all of the most successful lawyers I've ever interviewed, the way they scaled their firms was they hit on something that worked. They got a lot of profit from it, and then they plowed it back into their firms quickly. I'm telling you guys, like, I wish I could just make this stuff up, but I've actually interviewed a lot of the biggest PI firms in their states, and this is the common denominator. Something worked, they plowed all the money right back into the firm. So if there's resistance towards plowing the money back into the firm, you're going to go into conservation mode, and you're not going to actually reinvest, and you're going to go back to the same things that you were doing previously. So how do we solve that? There are 3 ways I thought through, and they fall within the same bucket. It's profit margin multipliers, okay? That is the number one problem you want to have, is where do I spend all this money, right? Until that's the problem, that is your number one problem, is making that your problem, okay? So, and we go through ebbs and flows in this. Now, most times, because we don't have a vision, we don't reinvest in the firm. We go in protection mode and we save the money, right? Number one profit margin multiplier is what's called dialing in your black box. I'll explain what that means. So in the book, High Output Management by Andy Grove, he explains this concept that's called the breakfast factory. Okay, and the breakfast factory, he basically explains a business as though your business is to create 3-minute omelet dishes for people. And he explains this whole journey and experience of when you start your 3-minute omelet business, you're the one making the omelets, you're the one handling accounting, you're the one doing all this, blah, 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 blah. Just like when you started your firm. Eventually, you hit a certain level where you hit a ceiling of complexity where you just can't make more omelets yourself, and there start to become what are called constraints. There's a theory, an operations theory, that's called the theory of constraints, which talks about this. And you have to make a decision. Which thing am I doing that do I need to give up? That's why we always talk about growing your firm is what's the next thing you have to give up as a task or responsibility, right? So what is that going to be? Well, it should first be the thing you hate doing the most, right? But that might not be a full-time role. So most times you'll hire a helper who can do like 5 or 6 different roles because it doesn't require full-time, right? So long story short, when you start a business, there's a black box. When you build a 8-figure business, there's still a black box. And I'm going to explain what that black box is right now. This is one of the absolute best ways to dial in your profit margins. I'm going to actually took a picture of it and I'm going to explain it to you. So the black box is very simple. I want you to actually picture this. A raw material goes into it. Okay, so over here, we'll see a raw material. Okay, so raw material. Then we have labor plus time plus money. And then we have a result. Okay, so I'll step aside so everyone can see this. This is the black box right here. Okay. So your labor plus your time plus the money that you invest in getting a result with the raw materials that you have, that this is RM right here, RM, raw materials. So when Mike Morse uses statements like your factory is broken, if you're like, how do I handle more cases? How do I handle more cases? Oh my God, my head's going to spin off. That means your factory is broken. And according to the book, High Output Management, that means that your black box is broken. So the goal for every law firm owner who wants to build a business and not be a slave to their practice is to create a combination of systems that use labor plus time plus money to produce the result without you. The goal is for you to not be in that black box. Your goal is to find more raw materials and to better clarify and energize people to get the result. Not to do anything in the black box, though. Look at the black box as like a black hole. If you step into it, you're going to get wiped into it and you're going to lose all of your best people, or you're not even going to attract them in the first place. So the key to dialing in and optimizing your black box ties into the realization that I had, which is process, assembly, and test. So oftentimes when I interviewed Michael Gerber, the author of E-Myth, a few weeks ago, and he'll be at our event in a few weeks as well. He talks about working on the business, not in the business. And I always wondered, what does that mean? And once you get rid of casework and intake dependence, where you're needed in every intake call and you're needed in all the casework, how do you replace the time that you were once spending on individual tasks like client work, casework, intake calls? How do you replace that with on the business tasks? So I think I cracked the code on it. It comes down to process, assembly, test. So I'll give you a quick example on this. Now, what most lawyers do is they just do it. They just go in and do the thing. If you're working on your business, you go through process, assembly, test. So I'll share an example of this. This is how you build your black box without it needing you. Okay. So there are three fundamental elements of a profitable operation. Process is the first one, which is an activity that physically changes material, just as boiling an egg changes an egg. I'll explain in a second. Assembly is the components that are put together to constitute a new entity, just as the egg, the toast, and the coffee together make a full breakfast plate. And the test subjects the components or the total to an examination of its characteristics. So let's go through a quick example. So you want to create a sales process to remove yourself from the intake system, right? Here's how you would use process, assembly, test to do that. This is working on the business. Let's say you want to train someone to sell your legal services without you. Step one would be to convert large amounts of data about what you sell, what service you provide, what makes you unique, in a way that's comprehensible to a salesperson. This transforms data into usable strategies for someone else. Data into usable strategies. That is a process. So literally, it's taking what's in your head, all the crap you say on the phone with clients, data, and turning it into a usable strategy, sales script. Everyone just see that? That is process. That's not working in the business, that's working on your business. Step two is assembly, okay? The combination of the various sales strategies into a coherent program can be compared to an assembly step. Here, the appropriate selling strategies and pertinent market data, such as competitive pricing, availability, are made to flow into one presentation along with such things as brochures, handouts, and flip charts. So this would be, the assembly of this would be a script, a PowerPoint, etc. So you're assembling strategies. So the usable strategies in and of itself are the process. The assembly of the usable strategies would be the script. So I was wrong when I said originally. The script is the finished product of the usable strategies. And then the test is the last part. This is what they call a dry run. Okay. You perform a dry run presentation with a select group of people. If the dry run fails the test, the material must be reworked, which is another well-established manufacturing concept. So this is called a dry run. Okay. If the dry run doesn't work, I know that there's a little bit of a glare right here, but this says dry run right here. DRYRUN, it says. Okay. Process assembly test. This is building that black box so you can step away. So any part of your business where you're thinking, how do I step away from it? Process assembly test. Process assembly test. Do not do the work. Prohibit yourself from doing the work. Start in very small increments, right? What's one thing I can stop doing and do process assembly test on it? Okay. Now, why am I talking about this when I talk about doubling your quality case volume? Did Bill go on another tangent? Is Bill going crazy? No, because profit margin reinvestment is the number one way that you will be able to confidently get more cases in the door. So by dialing in your black box, if you want to get more right fit cases, build a black box that is profitable, that doesn't involve you, so you can focus on more strategy.